How you doing? My name is Adam Wade. I'm originally from New Hampshire. I lived in Manchester, New Hampshire. I grew up there, and it was in central New Hampshire. But every summer growing up, my family, my mother, my brother, Matt, who is 4 years older than me, and my father, we would take a week in the summer, 4 to 5 days, and we'd go to Hampton Beach, New Hampshire, which is 45 minutes away. I know what you're thinking. New Hampshire, there's a beach. It's about 1.5 miles of beach, but it's beautiful. There's fried dough T-shirt stands everywhere. It's very blue-collar, except for the Ashworth, which is a very fancy place. And we'd always drive the Gran Torino. We had an orange Gran Torino with no AC, with the windows down. It was exciting. It was exciting. And when I was 7 years old, it was a big year for me because I went through my smart-ass phase. Like, I didn't have the terrible 2s or 3s. But when I was 7, my brother was 11, and I always wanted to impress him, and my comedic mind was working overtime. So we stayed at this place called the Sea Gate, and the Sea Gate was owned by a Greek family, but literally, like, the hotel rooms were like on that angle. So, like, if you took a Super Ball, which I would do, and roll it down, that would very much upset my father, and who would say, like, "Come on, Adam, let's make the best of it." And then I would say, "Hey, look, Dad, there's a gym here," and I would run up the slant of the hotel room, and it wasn't really that. He didn't think that was very funny. So we like one day during the week, we would go see Barbara and Billy Clapp, who had a place on a private beach, and we were told that we have to behave. And I go, "Oh, no problem, no problem." But it was, again, like I wanted to impress my brother. So we were walking together. I was 7 years old, and I would go up to people that were sitting and paid money to stay on this beach, and I would take the mud by the water, and I go, "Hey, look, I'm poo-pooing." And, like, it wasn't bad. And my parents, not very good. It was not, lastly, we would eat at these places, and like, they were very blue-collar. There was a place called Little Jack's, and my father had a problem, and this was like when we outed him with this problem, was he'd always eat like haddock, like fried haddock, and then later on he would have ice cream, and he would have a scoop of like vanilla, then a scoop of chocolate. And it did something to his breath where it made it like throw up or puke breath. And like, I call him skunk breath, and he did not like that. And then we were watching the fireworks that night, and my godfather, Joe, was there. He was visiting. And my godfather said, "Ooh, it smells like a dead skunk." And I go, "Yeah, you're talking to my father. He's got skunk breath. He had fish and ice cream." And it was not good. So the next night was once a week. When we were there, we would dress up and we would eat at the Ashworth, and it was like a $30 meal each. And my parents say it was like a meal of the year. And so we'd wear like our polo shirts and our boat shoes, and my mother would wear her favorite sundress, and like we'd go there. And I remember when I was 7, that year I go, "I want lobster tails," because I really like lobster a lot, and this was like the moment, and everybody else was getting lobster. And my mother said, "No, you have to have a hamburger." And I'm like, "Why do I have to have a hamburger?" And she said something like I've always believed my mother. She's like, "Well, last year, remember you had it and you got sick?" And I'm like, "No." And she's like, "Yeah, you threw up and it was awful." And I go, "Really?" And she's like, "Yeah, you're allergic. We found out, And I go, "When?" And she's like, "You are." So I go, "Okay, all right, you're right, So for the next 23 years, and even we'd always still go and we'd eat at the Ashworth, and when my brother got married, he'd meet up with us, and we'd eat, and I'd never had shellfish again. I always had a cheeseburger or a hamburger, and I never really thought of it, because it's like my mother, and I believed her. So I'm at a wedding at 30 years old in Bristol, Connecticut. It's my cousin Carrie, and I drink beers, 3 beers, and I'm good. But I was in a phase. And I had vanilla, Stolian vanilla, and ginger ale. And when you have that, that is like equivalent to cream soda, and that's my favorite. I like donuts, but as far as soda, cream soda is my favorite. So I put a few of those down, and I was a little hammered. And when I get hammered, I get hungry. So I went over, and they had this huge thing, this dip. I mean, it was extravagant, but it was a pink dip, and it was like cheese, but it had other things. And I was just mauling on it, and I ate a lot. I ate a lot. And my Uncle Krusty, who he looks over and he goes, "Hey, come on, when was the last time you ate?" And I go, "This is good. This is good." And he's like, "Yeah, it's from this fancy place in Bristol, Connecticut. It's the best lobster crab dip ever, and I had like a panic attack, and I thought of what my mother said when I was 7, and all the cheeseburgers year after year after year, and I'm like, call 911 or something, I'm gonna die, and like I'm running around, and like people, and the wedding, they're like, Adam's stealing attention. I'm like, no, seriously, I had like a quart of this stuff, and I'm like freaking out, and I'm shaking. And my mother's standing at the corner, and I run over, and I'm like, Ma, honestly, I had like lobster crab dip, but not a little, like a lot. And you know, I mean, all those years, and I remember Christmas, the shrimp, I never had it. No, I mean, it is not good. And my mother nonchalantly looks at me, she goes, oh, don't worry about it, you're not allergic. And I'm like, what? All these years? Like, she's like, yeah, no, we made that up, you know, and then we kept to it because it was like $30 less. I go, that's awful. And I'm emotional. I go, that's all. You ought to be ashamed.